Hello everyone, this is Satish here. Today we'll discuss about the Java 8 feature known as completable future. So before jumping back to completable future, we will have a quick look into some of the important concepts. Then we'll be covering the completable future part. So the first one is that how we can create a thread in Java. So there are two ways, like we can extend the thread call or we can implement the runnable interface. Okay, so in the example, I have taken a simple class where I am creating anonymous runnable, and using that I am overriding the run method, and when the thread will start it will call the run method. So this is a very simple example how we can create a thread using runnable, an anonymous runnable. And in the same way we can also create the thread using lambda expression as well. So this is the syntax for that. Yeah, so this is about how we can create a thread. The second important concept is like the executor service. Like, what is executor service? So executor service automatically provides a pool of thread and an API for assigning the task to it. So it says that we have a pool of thread where whenever you assign a task, that task will be picked up by some of the thread and it will start executing. So this will be more clear when we have a example. So I'll directly jump back to that. So yeah, so I'm into the executor example Java class. So I have a simple class. In the main method I'm creating executor here, executor service. So for that I'm using the executor class. So it has a static method called number of x thread pool you want to allocate to the executor. So if we have a look into this static class, it is returning the reference of the executor service which we are assigning is to the executor service. And in this executor service, basically what we are doing, we are submitting some of the tasks, and whenever this program will execute, this task will be executed by the thread which is allocated from the executor pool. So there are two threads. So if we can take any example, so basically what we are doing, when the program will run, it will create some task and it will submit the task to the executor service. When the task is submitted to the executor service, it will be pushed to a blocking queue. So there are a blocking queue consists of like a multiple tasks which are yet to be executed, and once the task is in the blocking queue, there will be thread which are free will pick up this task and start executing it. So these are the threads which are allocated so from the thread pool. So in our example we are manually saying the number of thread pools need to be provided for this example is 2. So 2 threads will be allocated. So I'll quickly run this example and we will having some tweaks in this example and see what is the behavior. So I'll run this example. Yeah, so you can see the program is running as of now. The program is not terminated yet, and we have output as this task has been submitted. So it is saying executing task 1, and the thread which is executing is a pool 1 thread 1, and the second task is executed by a different thread because we have two threads allocated here. So let's change this to one thread and see what will be the behavior first. So you can see we have the same thread which is executing the same task. It's like a one thread only executing. First it's executing this task, then it is executing this task. So we don't have any parallel execution as of now in this scenario when we have a less number of threads. So I'll jump back to the previous example where we have a two thread. And one thing to notice is that we don't kill the program. If the program it is still running, so in the executor service there is a method called shutdown. We can use that to kill the program. So executor service, if I do shut down, you'll see the behavior. Let's rerun. Yeah, so you can see we have the same output, but this time the program has been ended. So this is the method which is provided from the executor service. So it will tell that I am done with my execution. So whatever, let's complete this execution. So this is the API which provides by the executor service. Yeah, so this is one of the very simple example where we can create some task, assign the task to the executor service, and those tasks will be pushed to a blocking queue, and from the blocking queue it will the thread will pick the task and start executing it. So this is the simple example. So we can also schedule a task as well. So we have a this is the interface, like the schedule executor service is the interface here. So using this interface we can schedule the task. So it provides us whenever we run the program, basically sorry, whenever we schedule the program, it provides us the delay and the period as well. And so basically we are saying every 3 seconds this piece of the code will run. Okay, so if I quickly run this, let's rerun this. Yeah, so you can see these are from the previous example, and from this every 3 seconds, so there is a gap of every 3 seconds here. Every 3 seconds this program is rerunning and it is printing the output. So if you want to schedule some job that needs to be run at a given a specific time, so this is the one way we can do that. And yeah, so this is one of the very basic example. And we can also make some changes here. Let's do that changes. Let's see what happens if we go and have some exception here. Okay, say 0 by 0, I say an arithmetic exception. So let's say we have a count on the top as well. Okay, so I'll rerun the program and let's see what is the output. So here I am basically there is a arithmetic exception here, like divide by 0. So ideally after 5 we will have an exception here. So the task 4 has run. Okay, so the task 5 we have the arithmetic exception. So whatever the tasks which are like it's not executing as of now, there is an exception happening. So we have to actually cache this exception so that the other scheduled task will be executed. So let's do that and see. Okay, so let's have a quick recap. Count mod 5, I'll do this, is equal to 0. So let's rerun this program and let's see what is the behavior. Okay, so 4 tasks. So we have the fifth task, which is actually we are catching the exception here, so that's why the other task has been executing. So the 10th task will have the same divide by 0 exception. Yeah, so in this scenario what is happening, basically we are not troubling the other executor, means other future tasks to get impacted, because we are gracefully catching the exception here in this scenario. So this is the one way to write a clean code. So this is one of the very basic example using the executor service. So I'll jump back to the sheet here. So we have a executor example using runnable. Yeah, so we have one more example using the callable as well. So I'll quickly explain that as well. So we have callable example. Okay, so what is the difference between the runnable and callable here is that in the runnable we don't, it doesn't return any output. The output type is void here. So whenever you registered, means whenever we submit a task to a whenever we submit a task here, submit the task, the return type is void here. We don't get any output out of it. So but in callable there is a feature like we will get the output in terms of future. So it's like a promise. It says I will give you the promise. So once the output is been prepared, you can use this promise to get the output. So okay, so basically let's rerun this program and see what is the behavior. Yeah, so the program is been ended here. So let's see what happens here. So we have I registered a task here, and this method what is doing, basically printing that the task is which thread is executing the task, and there is a sleep of 3 seconds, and after that I am returning some output, and this output So I'm printing the output here, what will the output from the future, and then I'm terminating my program. So you can see there is a delay of 3 seconds, but still this doesn't print in the output, because there is a means at this line of code the program is stuck. It is not going anywhere down and executing any of these lines. It is stuck in this line. It is waiting for the response from the future. Once the response comes from this method, then only it will execute the below lines of code. So this is one of the areas like where the program has been interrupted until or unless we get the output from the future. So this is example using the callable. So but the feature here is that the from the callable we can return any response, and that response we can get it from the future object. Yeah. So this is the example using the callable. So I'll go back to the sheet and discuss about other things. Yeah. So let's have a discussion about the completable future, which is our main topic. So what is completable future? A completable future is an extension of the Java future API. So the future API which we just now explained here, like we have so in the callable it is returning a future, and from the future we are getting the response. So this is the extension of this API. So it is also used for asynchronous programming in Java. So where we have like multiple methods need to be called, so we can call it using asynchronous as well. So this is the feature which is provided by the completable future. So let's have a quick discussion of the some of the topics here, like run async, supply async, compose and combine from the completable future. So I'll take the run async. Yeah, so here in this example, what is basically I'm doing here is that I'm creating this is exactly the same. So here we have the method called run async. So once we do the run async, the catch here is that it will return a void as a future. It doesn't return anything. The return type is void in this run async. So but if we want to return something, then we have to use the supply async here. This is the method which is provided by the completable future. Okay, so if we go and run this, we will have the same behavior we saw in the last example. So you can see we have the async task here, which is printed here, and the program is stuck here. It is waiting for the response. So once the response has been returned, so it is basically going and printing this part. The program has been completed. So this is mostly about what it is doing with the run async from the completable future. So let's have a look into the supply async as well. So in the supply async, what is the additional feature here is that it can return a future object with a proper value here. So as of now I'm returning a string. We can also return any object, any class object, any integer, float, double, anything. So for a simplicity I'm taking as a string as a return type. And here we have a supply async method. Here we provide a supplier here. So the supplier, we are saying that we are giving the input as a string here, and sorry, the supplier, we are saying the output should be a string, and we are overriding the supplier get method here. And here what I am doing, basically asking the thread to sleep for 3 seconds, then I am returning some value. And yeah, and one more catch here is that in the previous example here I didn't provide any executor here. So there is a it can also take an executor. If I say, you can see the first property is a runnable and the second is the executor. So I'm not providing any executor. So it will take the internal thread pool executors. Means from the fork thread pool it will get means it will create the use those threads instead of manually providing any thread here. So in this example I am manually saying like the number of thread pools it need to take is 10. So there are 10 threads are been allocated to this executor. So from this 10 thread it will be using those threads to make the communication or to complete this program. Okay. So this is the second parameters I am providing to the completable future supply async method. And once there is one more important method here is the let's say you have a piece of code where you want to write like once this is completed then I have to do other thing, like basically saying once I have a part of a detail, I use that detail to compute my other computation. So this is exactly the same scenario here. Once this completable future is been completed, it will return as a result, and that result I am using it for my second set of operations. So here I can have my own big logic, but as of now I'm keeping is a very simple. I'm whatever the result I get from the previous completable future, I'm just appending into one of the string, and then returning this response, and from this response I'm using the completable future.get to print the response back. So this is one of the very basic examples. So if we go and rerun this program, see the output. Yeah, so we have it actually waited for 3 seconds. So after 3 seconds is printed like the hello admin task is completed. And once the task is completed, hello admin, the task is completed. So here I am concatenating these two values, and once I print this, I am printing the means the program is stuck here. It will not go anywhere until it prints the value, and then it will print the then it will execute the below lines of code. So this is the output here. Like we have hello admin, the task is completed, and then after followed by the program completed. So this is with respect to the supply async method, where we return a value, and in the run async we do the return type is void. So this is the example. So I'll go back to the sheet, and we have a compose and combine. Okay, so let's go and see the compose and combine. What are this feature? So I'll go back to the compose here. Okay, yeah, so in the compose, what I am basically doing, I'm creating a two completable feature here, like the get the first name. So I'll get the I'll explain you this first. So I have a method here, like I have one of the method here, sleep. This is basically sleeping the thread for the given value, and one method is a supply get the first name. So after some delay, I'm returning the first name. So here I'm returning the completable future, and I have a second method to get the last name. So after some second, it is returning the second the last name, and then I have the method called then compose. So in the main method, what I am doing basically here, I first ask get me the first name, then I will run the then I am actually using some different thread to run here. I can do using the same thread as well, because then compose will basically first get the first name, then it will use the means the uh, completable future from the first operation and pass it to the second, and do the needful operation. What I'm doing here is basically concatenating the two names and returning it back. So this is what this then compose is doing. So the catch here is to notice, like the get when we get the first name, there is a delay of 3 seconds, and we get the last name, there is a delay of 5 seconds. So let's run this program and see the behavior, how it is actually running in the yeah. Okay, so if you have noticed here, uh, there is a after like immediately it prints the worker 1, then after 3 seconds it prints the worker 2, and there is a delay of 5 second, means after this 5 second it is printing the output. So in all, let's just comment this out and rerun the program, and let's see what is the behavior. Just keep a note on the console. So we have the immediately it prints this, after 3 seconds it will print this, and there is a 5 second delay. After that it is printing the output here, I am getting here, and this is blocked as usual because the output is not returned yet. So overall there is a 8 second delay here. That is the important thing to notice here. So first 3 seconds is to get the first name, then a 5 second is to get the last name, and then once we have the first name and last name, we are basically returning the result. So means in the second, after 5 seconds we have the last name, and that last name I'm passing it to the method called get last name. I'm passing the first name here and appending the first name with the last name, and then returning the, so in the response in the form of a completable future, and that completable future I'm getting the response back. So this is the basic example. So in this scenario, what is happening in the backend is that the threads are not running at the same time. The first this is one thread is running to execute the first name. So once we have the first name, then it will run the second thread, second executable, means second completable future task to get the last name, and then concatenate and return the result. So this is the example. So this is using then compose. We can also do the same thing using the apply then apply as well. Okay, so if I just comment out this code, we will have the same output, but there is one difference. We will discuss that. So let's rerun this program. It again 5-second delay. It will print the last name and the program is completed. Okay, so so as you can see, the only difference here is that there is no difference in the way I'm calling the first name. Then let's also make this as apply async. That doesn't make any difference here because one task is executing after that. Then this is basically we provide apply async so that the reason is that means whatever thread is executing this get first name, it's not necessary that the same thread will execute the second task as well. If we have multiple thread, we can ask other thread as well to execute. In that scenario, we say apply means async is been added. Otherwise, if that is not the requirement, we can use apply, then apply as well. Okay, so in this scenario, what is happening, the behavior is exactly same. The only difference is that whenever I get the response, means whatever the completable future I'm getting, whenever I pass the completable future to my second like the nested operation here, like this completable future I'm passing, the result is concatenate, means the result is like a chained completable future. So first one is the completable future, I get the response, and second, when in the then apply, we'll get the this part will be wrapped around the completable future. So there is a nesting of the completable future in this scenario. But in the then compose, what it actually does, it flattens your completable future here. So in this scenario, what we have here is that we have the completable future only as a part of the output, but here we have a nested of the completable future. That is the only difference. The otherwise the behavior remains the same, how it is executing and everything remains the same. The only thing is the form of the output has been little modified in the case of the then apply, if you want to execute the same way. Otherwise the thing is completely same. This is the only difference in this example, that with the then compose and then apply. Yeah, so this is with the compose, and I will jump back to the last topic, which is uh, then combine future. Yeah, we have combine as well. So here also a very basic example I have is that slip methods, similar to the what we have in the previous example. Same way we have the first name and the last name exactly same, with even the times are also same. And yeah, there is one let's say there's one important topic need to be covered here as well. Like in all the example, if some exception is happening at any place, you can catch the exception as well. So it provides us then feature like the exceptionally, we can catch the exception, and you can do some needful operation if you want to log the exception, or if you want to send some notification, you can also do. But we are keeping it is very simple, we are just printing the exception here in this scenario. Yeah, so this is the addition here, and apart from that we have a then combine method as well. So what is the advantage of using then combine, and what is different from the then compose? So in this scenario, in the then compose, we have noticed that first it is getting the first name, then once the first name has been returned, then only it will call the get last name. Okay, so there is a dependency of the get last name method. It will be only called when the get first name returns a completable future to the get last name. So this is the dependency in case of the then combine. But in this scenario, like the then combine, what we have, these two operation will run independently of each other. There is a no dependency of this on this. So what we are saying, like give me the first name and give me the last name. Okay, so once I have both the things, means anytime the first name will be returned, anytime the last name will be returned. But at the moment when I have both the things, I will do some needful operation and return the output. Okay, so in this scenario, we the get first name is returning the first name, and get last name will return the last name. And once we have both, I'm basically concatenating and get the output from the response, and then I'm saying the program has been completed. So let's rerun this. So you can see the output, we have both the threads had been logged because both of them are working at the same time. The only difference is that this thread will return the output in 3 seconds and this will return in the 5 seconds. So after 5 seconds, this will be printed, Satish, the output Satish Kumar. But in the previous example, the outputs are printing after 3 plus 5 seconds, 8 seconds. So this is the difference using the then combine. So we can also use this then combine feature in some scenarios where we where the output of the one method and the second method are not dependent, but we once we get the output we will be doing some operation. So this we can use this then combine method of the completable future. So that's pretty much about what I wanted to discuss here, like from the runnable, callable, run async, we have supply async, then combine compose of the completable future. So this covers most of the basic stuffs, and also like what are the features of the completable future. And there are other things as well in the completable future which I didn't discuss here, but as you play with the code and try look at some of the blocks, you will able to get what are the different things which you want to achieve. So this is mostly about what are the basics I wanted to cover in this small video. So I hope it will help someone. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.